The first one, Stephen, is what does the future of work look like in your opinion? Or if you prefer, you can answer what does the future of work look like in your industry? As your industry is education. I don't know which you want to choose.
No, I always choose both. Never limit yourself to one. I think the future of work in education is going to be incredibly disrupted, because what I'm watching around the world because of the pandemic is very, very different situations suddenly. You know, that the fact that Australia and New Zealand has been able to reopen schools as they were doesn't help us at all, because it just pushes them back into exams and stuff. But then I think about countries in Africa where they've had no education at all, or you think about some of the awful diagrams I've seen from the US where they've got pictures of schools with kids sitting on X spots on the floor, is that suddenly the whole of education has been turned upside down and we really don't know where it's going to land. So I think if I was a professional now working in a traditional school and education, I'd be wanting to teach teach the community about blended learning, about options for continuous learning, regardless of what's actually happening around. But then I think that becomes a little bit similar to the wider world of work anyway, is that if we really want to seriously try and predict what it's going to be like in 2030, let alone 2040, the reality is that we're going to have to be agile and adaptive. Now, they've been saying that for the last 10 years anyway, but I think we've just suddenly seen this year that's the reality. If you can't be adaptive, if you're not agile, if you've got a closed mindset, you're going to struggle. And so the future of work is about that. And I mean, it's interesting in Australia in the last week, because they've suddenly made masks mandatory in Melbourne, 4.5 million people. I can't believe the number of companies that have just suddenly repurposed what they did. Like, you know, car upholstery companies are now mask making companies, and they've done that in a week. I mean, good on them for having managed to do it and to work out how to do it. But I think whether you're in a manufacturing industry, whether you're in, I guess, high level business management, or whether you're in a school, it's going to be about adaptability and agility.
That's a great answer, and you've already answered the second question as you know you had done, I think, previously as well. But it was basically, what can educators do to ensure that their students feel more future ready, or what can education do as a whole to help with that process of agility?
I can have a harsh answer. The harsh answer is that no one should be an educator if they're in it for their own self. If you're a teacher because it provides you with an income that's steady, you are the wrong person for this world. You've really got to be in education now, as an educator, thinking about what do these kids need, because what's needed into the future is so very different from the past, and we need to have people who are committed to that. Schools need to have people who are committed to trying different things, trying new things, because we can't get caught out again like's happened in 2020. You know, and if we think the sadness is that probably 75% of the world got caught out by the pandemic because they had refused to actually adopt technology into their learning going through. And you know, I think if people had actually been a little bit more even aware of what they could have been doing 5 years ago, it would have been far less painful for a lot of kids.
Indeed. Yeah, I hope they have learned something. Okay, last question is about you. What do you think you would do differently if you were starting your career exploration all over again today?
That's a very interesting question. Probably follow my deep passion, which I've still managed to do a little bit even at Learnlife, is that as a person who hated science at school, probably because it was taught shockingly, I did a horticulture botany course for 3 years in the evening in my 40s, and if there was any role, any job that I had now that would be different, it would actually be working with plants. Now, having said that, I've always enjoyed education and teaching as well. So I guess if I had to give myself advice, would be to follow all of your passions, not just one of them. Merge them together.